That's great for the Cowboys, isn't it? This is how we do stuff. This is the Cowboys. We're trying to do something. Really, it's time to lead the football team. It's time. It's your time.
It's our time right now. 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 It's our time right now.
He was a giant, and he was a cowboy. Now these two former rivals have joined forces to bring you the most insightful, perceptive, and controversial sports talk podcast in America. Former Dallas Cowboys defensive end Jim Jeffcoat locks horns with former New York Giants wide receiver Byron Williams. And now, here's Byron Williams and Jim Jeffcoat.
Good evening, good evening, good evening.
What's going on?
Hey, especially to the new viewers. I know we got some new viewers out there. Holla at us,
What's going on with y'all out there? This last week was wild card weekend.
Yes, it was, and it was wild. It was wild, Byron.
Wow.
It was wild.
First time we ever had a Monday night playoff game.
Can you believe that? And it wasn't really.
Times are changing.
It wasn't really a playoff game. It was a game. They got played.
They did play a game.
They got played. But we'll talk about that. But let's get into the games.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals. Los Angeles
Bengals. Yeah. They call that the jungle. You know, you want to go into the jungle?
Yeah, I've been there. I played in the jungle. I played back there against Boomer Esiason and them guys out there in the jungle. Icky Woods.
Yeah, Icky was there at the game.
Yeah.
I think you gotta teach you a couple of dance moves too.
I gotta teach you something because you don't have that rhythm. I gotta work on your rhythm.
Yeah, that's what I need. Yeah, so the Bengals 26, the Raiders 19.
Yeah, and I tell you what, after this week, and I don't know what they're gonna do against Tennessee.
Right.
But Joe Burrows is that guy. He is that guy. He that dude.
He might be the guy that break Tom Brady records. One or two of them, you know, maybe.
But the one thing he's got to do is obviously get better protection.
Yeah.
Because he's the most sacked quarterback. I think he got sacked 43 times.
He got sacked quite a bit this year.
Yeah, he did. But what helps him is those two running backs.
Yeah.
First, we talk about, obviously, Mixon had 17 carries, 48 yards, but he was healthy. But Pirine is a change of pace guy, and he does a nice job.
Oklahoma boys, too. Both of them from Oklahoma. Yeah. OU.
Yeah. And then you got Carr, who was 29 of 54 for 310 yards, and Josh Jacobs ran for 83 yards. And Waller came back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting thing. I know they interviewed Bisaccia today for their head job.
Right.
And the thing you got to think about is he did a tremendous job with all the controversy and chaos going on.
I really like the way he did it. He had kept those players focused on what they were there for, and they played a phenomenal game last week against the Chargers to get into the playoffs. And you know, it just he did a great job. And of course, the general manager Mike Mayock was fired today, yesterday.
Yeah,
and Mike played with me a couple of years with the Giants. And
did?
Yeah, he was a free safety back in the day.
Mm-hmm. I've never been a big Mike Mayock fan, and I looking at what he did and some of the players he drafted was the reason why obviously the Raiders had issues.
Right. Yeah.
Here's the thing that you never knew. Mike Mayock was from Boston College.
Okay.
Who was his roommate?
Boston College? Not Flutie.
No. Bruce Pearl.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Bruce Pearl was his roommate.
Wow. That's what I like about this show. You know, you so much knowledge in this on these bald heads running around here. But well, you know, Mike is known for his talent pool, surveying and recruiting college players and how they rate going into the draft. You know, he did a phenomenal job.
Some things he didn't do was look at the personality of these players, some of these players, because there were some horrific things that happened. And obviously they had to, and being in Las Vegas, you got to pick the right type of players.
I was kind of disappointed. I went to Vegas last year, and I was trying to get in touch with him to come over and walk the stadium, tour the stadium like I do here in Dallas at AT&T. Yes. And they didn't have no listing. You couldn't call him or nothing. So I said, man, wow. what's that? That picture was not a good picture. You know, you general manager, you need to have at least some former players to contact you when they come in town. You know, that's just the relationship that we should have anywhere.
Yeah. And somebody asked, is the character of the player on the GM? The GM brings that player into your organization. He better know his background and know what he's dealing with, because there are some talented players. They might be higher risk than other players.
One of the players that I mentor over there with the Raiders is Darius Philon, number 96.
Yes.
He went to Arkansas, had some problems. Then they signed him this year and had a phenomenal year for the Raiders. And you know, I'm glad they did give him a second chance, because he had a great year this year. And but you know, I just think sometimes it fit for some players and some players that don't fit for.
And exactly. And a great example is Charles Haley. Everybody talks about Charles, but he has issues.
Yeah.
But what Charles does is they knew he worked hard and they knew he loved football. And that's what you got to find out. Is football important to the player? And the GM's responsibility is to do that.
Yeah.
Find out if it's important to the player. And
there's always, don't you think it's a couple of coaches on the staff that you can also try to get in the mix? To make sure,
no question.
Yeah, to make sure that the players are doing some things on when they go home, when they leave the stadium and the practice facility and so forth.
No question. The guy that was that for the Dallas Cowboys during the Jimmy Johnson era was a guy named Hubert Alexander.
Okay.
Hubert has passed now, but he had that relationship with all the players, not just he was the wide receivers coach, but he was also, you know, he talked to the D linemen, he talked to the O linemen.
Yeah.
He was from Memphis.
Right.
So he kind of understood the experience.
Right.
They were going through, and everybody loved the Axe. I mean, that's what we call him.
The Axe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was that kind of guy. You have to have somebody, and just like you said, on your staff, that kind of understands how these players are feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely a family environment that you got to have it from top to bottom. You know, from the 53rd player to your top players. You know, you got to have it in the mix of, you know, how to make sure that each player is being looked after on and off the football field.
Yeah, no question. But the Raiders obviously lost to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's got a little tougher game this week. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
But I think you never know with Joe Burrows, if they can't, if he gets going, Jamar Chase, obviously Higgins, and the other receiver, I can't recall his name right now, but there's one more that's really good. There's the tight end is good. I mean, they got some talent. And the Ravens coach is a good friend of mine, Troy Walters.
Okay.
Trent Walters is a longtime pro and college coach, and Troy's taken a lot of his knowledge from his dad, and he utilized it in the NFL.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So
go ahead.
So you think the Raiders gonna hire a pretty good coach, or you think?
I think they will. They'll be a good coach, and I think they'll hire a coach I would think Bisaccia would be a good guy for it. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, but I really enjoyed. I'd spent time with Gus Bradley.
Yeah.
And I thought he was a tremendous defensive coordinator. I think Bisaccia has the right personality to be in a place like Las Vegas, because it's a little unique for an NFL team. And I think they did a nice job. That staff did a nice job of getting them to the playoffs.
Yes, because I know going into these vacancies, these NFL job vacancies, you got a couple of teams need general managers as well as head coaches. So don't you think the head coach and general manager need to be on the same page?
No question.
Yeah.
No question. And I think that's why they're holding off on some things.
Right.
But like I said, we got plenty of time. We'll talk about some of that stuff. But let's get to the games.
Let's get to the games.
Bills 47, New England Patriots 17. I mean, they made Matt Jones look like a rookie, although he was 24-34, 232 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And Damon Harris had 9 carries for 30 yards. But the story of the game was Josh Allen.
5. You see this? 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, but here, he only had 4 incompletions the whole game.
Wow.
21 of 25. And that's pretty impressive right there.
They scored 7 touchdowns and on their first 7 tries, I think, and they really put the game away. They made a statement. They made a statement that they ready.
2 things are going to be interesting in this game against Kansas City. The first thing is that Josh Allen, obviously, not just for his passing ability, because we know how talented he is as a passer, but his ability to run the ball.
Right.
Devin Singletary probably had his best game of the year. They're starting to run the ball better.
Yeah.
And that's going to help them. That'll be interesting because they got beat pretty good by Kansas City the first time. I think it was like 34-24.
Yeah, something like 10 points, I think.
Yeah. But I think if they can do the things they did against New England, they got a chance. The only thing is you got to understand is Patrick Mahomes. A lot of the things you see him do in the pocket, that's what they practice that in there. And they practice some of him escaping pressure and moving up in the pocket and things like that. Obviously, that's something that's been practiced. That's not something because they say, wow, but he knows what he's doing. So that's going to be interesting to see how the Bills can. And obviously, you got Kelsey, you got Tariq Hill, and a lot of the other receivers are starting to become more effective as the season progresses.
So since Kansas City playing at home, do you think they have an advantage just because they're playing at home against the Bills?
Yeah. Arrowhead is kind of, you've been to Arrowhead. It's a little bit out there when you drive. So, it just comes up on you. But Arrowhead is also very loud and very.
Oh, it's loud. Yeah.
And it's very disruptive. So I think they do have that advantage. And plus, there are certain quarterbacks that can win games, and Mahomes is one of them.
Okay.
He's one of them. There's only, like we always say, about maybe 2 or 3 in the whole league. Brady, obviously, Mahomes, Rodgers, and guys like that. And we're going to see if Josh Allen can get in that, but I don't know.
Well, if Josh Allen can win this game, he's going to really elevate his name up there with the elite quarterbacks, no doubt.
Yeah, he will. Yeah. One thing you got to remember, the Bills scored 7 touchdowns on 7 tries. That's unheard of in today's NFL.
That was some focused football right there. That was getting the job done.
Yeah. And the defense is going to be the key for both teams. Whose defense shows up.
Yeah.
I think the Bills' defense has a harder task trying to obviously contain Mahomes.
Right.
Because Mahomes is that guy. He's one of those guys, and he's proven it because he's been in the last 2 Super Bowls. So it's going to be hard containing him. Yeah,
I think the quarterback that had a few first mistakes gonna pull it off.
Oh, no question.
Yeah,
no question. But both of them are talented teams. Both of them are playing. They're coordinators, obviously. And interesting, and when you talk about some of the openings, it seems like the Buffalo coordinators are getting more interest than the Kansas City.
Yeah,
because Eric Bieniemy was a hot commodity, but they said he doesn't interview very well. And then their Chuck Pfeiffer, I think his name is, the special teams coach, got some interest. But I don't know what happened there, but it looks like Kansas City is not getting the interest that the Buffalo. Leslie Frazier obviously has been a head coach in the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
He's gotten some interviews. Brian DeBall has gotten some interviews.
Right.
But so that's kind of interesting to me that they didn't.
And I think that's another thing. You know, these guys are on a list for these coaching vacancies, but also, you know, they're still coaching and trying to do their job in the playoffs. And, you know, and I think that might have kind of hurt Dallas. And I know you want to get to that later.
Yeah.
But when you put these defensive coordinators in this pool of maybe the possibility of getting these new jobs, that can be a distraction.
Yes, no, there's no question about it. But we'll see what happens this week because it seems like Buffalo had more interest in their coordinators than Kansas City.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So let's move on. Here's an interesting: the Buccaneers 31, Eagles 15.
Right.
Jalen Hurts was 23 of 43 for 258 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Miles Sanders only 7 carries for 16 yards. And then you look on the other side.
That's sad right there.
We'll talk about
carries, 16 yards. 16 yards?
Yeah, but you remember he had the wrist injury, and he just came back. And I'm not using that as an excuse. But what bothers me about this game is, we know Tom Brady, and we know he's probably, if not, one of the all-time greats. And he always picks up his level of play in the playoffs because he was down receivers, obviously the Antonio Brown situation, the other receiver that got hurt, Godwin, and he's had some, but he finds a way to get it done. And he wasn't actually at the beginning of the game. Brady was off target, if you remember.
Yeah.
He was missing a lot of plays. But Hurts I think he gets more criticism than any quarterback I've ever seen. It's incredible the criticism he gets. There was a team, and I thought that this was going to be a rebuilding year for Philadelphia, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I thought that but Devontae Smith surprised me as the season progressed. Jalen Reagor, he didn't show up this game, but
he had an okay season compared to what he'd been doing in the previous couple of years, his first 2 years. But yeah.
So Nick Sirianni kind of impressed me with how everybody was criticizing how he's coaching and everything, but they came together and they made it to the playoffs. You got to give them. I'm not a Philadelphia fan, obviously, but they made it to the playoffs, and they ran into a team that had more experience to them.
If you look at it, when Doug Peterson had the team, Philly wasn't really a bad team. They just had some injuries, and they actually, Philly's not really, they've been in every game. They kind of remind me of what the Giants were doing early on. I mean, they hard to beat.
Yeah. And so the thing they got to do is obviously improve their defense in certain positions.
Yeah.
But I thought they did a good job. Now, over to Tom Brady. Tom Brady was 29 of 37, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns. Another guy, Keyshawn Vaughn, never heard of him, 17 carries, 53 yards. And the thing is,
that's next play up. That's next year out. But one thing about Tom Brady, interception. He don't throw the ball. He don't try to force the ball. He try to pinpoint the ball, but he don't make those mistakes like a lot of these quarterbacks make.
Yeah. And my question is that with all the injuries on offense, it's kind of interesting for Tampa Bay in key positions with the running backs, both for Fournette and Ronald Jones were out, and they were going with Bernard, and obviously here you can see was Keyshawn Vaughn.
Yeah,
they still found a way. Their defense is getting healthy. Their defense, but they still have some secondary issues.
They have some big secondary issues.
And they fined Bruce Arians $50,000 for hitting a safety. He hit him.
He hit him?
He smacked him in the head, and the safety smacked him in the head because he said he was making sure he didn't jump in a pile and get him a penalty.
Man, that's some.
It was his own player.
His own player?
Yeah, he hit him in the head and fined him $50,000.
Well, that was a good price to pay. That was really good. I'm glad to see that.
His reasoning behind it, he said the player was going to run out in the field and jump in a pile and try to pull somebody off. And he smacked him in and said, "You ain't going to get us." And we'll talk about that a little later. But you need a coach has got to make sure.
Well, you need a get back coach. You need a get back coach on that. That's that get back coach. And then he would have paid the get back coach would have hit him in the head. Then they probably would fine him $10,000. Then Arian could have paid for that $10,000 instead of paying out $50,000. That's why you got to get them get back coaches on your staff.
But somebody asked, why can't you hit your own players? But Frank Cush and Woody Hayes did it, and they got fired for hitting their own players. So
but you know that the NFLPA got these rules and guidelines, so they try to make sure that we kind of keep an even playing field across the board when the fines and things are. You know, a lot of people don't know this. When we were playing with Lawrence Taylor, he had more fines than anybody, right?
Really?
And guess what we did with the money? We sent the money to North Carolina and paid for their weight room. He bought their weight room back in the day.
I didn't know that. But yeah, he did. Now back to the game. Do you think Jalen Hurts could be a franchise quarterback someday?
I really do, because he got that desire to win games. But what I would do, I would sit with him in the offseason. We look at these quarterback tapes, Aaron Rodgers, look at all the different quarterbacks, get him familiar with what he needs to do, have a division, and just continue to build up his confidence and cut down the mistakes. And I guarantee you he's a franchise quarterback. Mm-hmm. Little things like that will make a difference.
But here's my question. I know we've seen Mahomes and Brady and some people of that stature, but do you need a franchise quarterback to win a Super Bowl?
I think you do. I think the quarterback, the running backs, and the defense and the head coach is the key to getting to that Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Okay, you keep looking at it, you got to have the quarterback got to be your guy.
But my question, I know
that's why most of the MVPs in the Super Bowl be who? It's quarterbacks.
Yeah, but my question is, Baltimore won the Super Bowl without a franchise quarterback. So, and Nick Foles, do you believe, and that's another one, I don't believe that you need a fan. If you have the other positions that
Nick Foles was a fluke, you know. Nick Foles came in at a time where the defense wasn't even didn't have a whole lot of book on it. Didn't have a whole lot of plays and things. Didn't see him with a lot of reps, and he had a phenomenal game. I mean, it was a perfect game from play calling to execution to everything.
I guess what I'm saying is Trent Dilfer, you wouldn't consider him Kerry Collins, the backup for the New York Jets this year. He won a Super Bowl, and you wouldn't think these guys were franchise quarterbacks. So I question, and we've seen this era.
But most of those guys was what, 28 to 32. They still prime. They still prime.
Yeah. Yeah, and you make a good point there, but I don't think you'd like to have a franchise quarterback. But
just look at the quarterbacks that win MVP of the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
most of those guys gonna be Hall of Famers as well.
Yeah. Do you think Eli Manning was a Hall of Fame or a franchise now? Eli Manning gonna be in the Hall of Fame, and just like Ben Roethlisberger, huh? Phil Simms, do you think he was a franchise quarterback?
He was back then because the game was different. I mean, we ran the ball 60% of the time. Yeah. So now these guys are throwing the ball 60% of the time. Mm-hmm. And so it was a different game back then. But, you know, for us, leadership, field general, everything that you ask for a quarterback, Phil Simms feel the mission.
But I'm just asking I don't think if you can find other positions that you excel at, say you got like Cincinnati. I know Gerald Barrows is really good, but he also has some phenomenal receivers in running game. And I think he will be a franchise type quarterback, but I don't know if you need that in certain positions, certain things. If you're strong in other positions, I think you can get away with it if you got a strong running game. And I'm not saying that's the thing because everybody's trying to find that guy. But how many of those guys are out there?
It ain't many, but it's always an exception here and there. And I just think too, you talking about Nick Foles and Kerry Collins and those guys. They came in at the right time. I mean, they had their supporting cast around them as well. So, football is a game where all of us play from kindergarten, youth all the way up. So it ain't like guys having to learn a whole new dynamics to play this game. But you just have to get on there and you have to have the supporting cast and the timing got to be perfect. I mean, you have to have a good defense. I mean, it's a lot of things got to click in order for you to win that Super Bowl. But for a franchise quarterback, I think you got to build your team around your quarterback. I mean, the day Mike McCarthy was talking about it today, whether or not the offensive coordinator leave or not, they're still going to have everything in place for Dak Prescott.
Yeah, and that's the next game we're going to talk about. The 49ers 23, the Cowboys 17. And Jimmy G was 16 of 25 for 202 yards. Eli Mitchell was 96 yards and 1 touchdown. But the star of this game was Deebo Sanders.
Yeah, Deebo was, and Eli Mitchell and Deebo. I mean, what a heck of a combination.
Yeah,
but Eli Mitchell just did fantastic first half, and then Deebo closed it out. He put it away. They for some reason the Dallas defense just seemed like they were playing like they've been playing.
Yeah, I think what happened is, and is that Deebo Sanders is an old school player. He's not very big.
He's a bully. He's a bully.
Yeah, he's not very fast, but he plays football like it's supposed to be played. He is a physical guy. And you saw what happened in the game is that they had what they did, they out-physical the Cowboys. And you talked about they hadn't played defense. They big-boyed them like I thought they would, and I was concerned about that. They went after them and said, "We're going to rough you up." And then the biggest issue that the Cowboys had, you can make excuses all you want, but there were 14 penalties for 89 yards. It was the most in NFL history. And I said this, I told you this before. When you're a coach and you're a coach on the thing, and you have that, you're either allowing it or you're teaching it. What are you doing? Because that is unacceptable. And the defensive penalties, the holdings, I mean, I could see the interior guys. That happens.
Right.
The exterior, the ends, having that there. You have guys that what bothers me is they say you can't lose your position if you're injured. But if you have guys that go in and out of the rotation on the offensive line, you have no continuity.
Right.
You have no continuity. They've had issues, obviously, with both tackles being out. The only consistent person was there, and he plays the best. He's a Pro Bowler again. Is Zach Martin.
Zach Martin he's phenomenal. When you have what's his name, Connor Williams. Yeah. I mean, you get a play, CeeDee Lamb caught a pass play for about 38 yards.
Yep.
And he had a hole. I mean, how many? This guy got more holding penalties than anybody, any guards in all year in the NFL.
No question.
So why if you're a head coach or you're offensive line coach, why you don't address that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're either allowing it or you're teaching it. And that's what I'm saying exactly. because you're allowing him to.
And then on the defensive side, Randy Gregory and them holding.
Yeah.
And the ball is downfield.
Yeah, it already is. That was not a very good play. Another thing, this is what Jimmy would say all the time to us. He said, dumb players make dumb plays because they don't think. They just react. You cannot do that. And that's it. You got to be smart and understand the game situation. And sometimes I'm not the guy that's putting all the blame on Dak.
Right.
Dak needs help. And I'll tell you what bothers me, and you might speak to it more, is Amari Cooper, he makes plays. I'm not going on him. Cedric Wilson makes plays. The guy that bothers me the most is CeeDee Lamb.
Why is that? I think the guy that I would try to enlighten more is CeeDee Lamb.
Yes.
Because of his ability and his style of play. What I don't like is that you got to put your players in a position to make the plays.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, and I understand what you're saying, but with me, with CeeDee Lamb, in the big time thing and games, he does not show up. He caught one pass, and you could say, well, Dak never threw to him. He was in single coverage the majority of the game.
I don't blame Dak. You know what? I blame the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. And
that's what I blame. And then and then you know what else I blame? I blame the receiver coach.
Yeah.
All the receiver coach, every time they come out the field, we be talking about some things. I'll be up in the receiver's face and say, hey, we got to do this, A, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you, you got to have some aggressive coaches on your coaching staff.
Yeah. But here's the thing that bothers me about CeeDee Lamb. And I know he was back returning kicks, but it seems to me that he has, and it could be coaching too, digressed from his first year.
I would say that I still see the same. See that what I've seen have happened when he got that concussion, his progress report then dropped off. Yeah, because I don't know, maybe he's not as aggressive as he was before he got the concussion in the season. But they're not still throwing in the ball. I would at least try to throw the ball 8 to 10 times to CeeDee Lamb. It didn't happen this past weekend.
And I would agree. And that's, like you said, Troy Aikman made an interesting thing. And he wasn't talking about his career. He was talking to what he sees because he obviously commentates games every week. And he said, I don't want to talk about what I did because nobody wants to hear from an old guy and how he played. Right. And he says, teams have changed. Coaching staffs have changed. They don't look at matchups anymore. What they look at is schemes. They play schemes instead of matchups.
They're talking about analytics. But analytics.
Yeah. And they said that the corner was playing soft on CeeDee Lamb all the game, and Dak never looked at him. And I'll tell you another issue I find out with the Cowboys is the tight ends. They got to get better at the tight end position for them that, they can't have it one.
I'll tell you one thing, too, that changed the game for the Cowboys. They run 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back. To where you used to have, you can come in with 2 tight end combination, so have a.
They ran some big sets when they brought in those tackles.
But what I'm saying though, Jim, you have to have some different groups of receivers combination. Why not play Pollard and Zeke at the same time?
And they done that all the time.
When?
But they have
do it last game?
It's not in the game. This game. And
that's what I'm saying.
So
you have to have different packages now, and I don't see that happening consistently.
Yeah, and then
you know what? I tell you another thing that I think been a problem with a lot of these teams. They become predictable. You just think that the defense just gonna keep playing the same type of defense? No, they know the tendencies. And guess what? The offense is playing into the defense's hand, and so the defense, you know it every time in the season. At the end of the season, the defense have the advantage because what? They done seen all the plays. Yeah. They look at the tendencies. They know what they know at 2nd and 15, what they gonna do, who they trying to throw the ball to. So I think a lot of time that's where you got to get creative as an offensive coordinator a position coach to come in and say, hey, this is what we need to do. And they're not doing that. You know, one of the things that they don't even run no more, Jim, is draws, running back draws.
That's true.
You know, I never see draws.
Yeah. But here's the thing, too, is that Zeke Elliott at one time was an elite back. And now, because obviously you all know that running backs have a short shelf life because of the position, the nature of the position. Now he's saying after the season he had a torn PCL. And I don't think he was dogging it. I think he was truly injured. But I don't know if he can get back to the level that he needs to be one of the top backs, because I think his body is starting to wear down. And you say, well, he's still young, but still, you've seen it. There are very few backs that last 10, 12 years. And
that's the whole thing. That's the deal. When you're about 70% and you got to put on a knee brace, you ain't going to help the team.
No.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah. And then somebody said, yeah, the Chiefs are great at changing looks. They're running the same plays, but they give you different looks.
Exactly.
And that's just, yes. And like you said, that helps the players, but it also helps your schemes too. I think there's sometimes you got to, just like San Francisco, you just got to say, forget it. We just going to run these guys out of your own stadium. And they did. They did.
Second half,
169 yards.
We finna get the ball to Debo. We're gonna create another way. We put him way out here to the left. Next thing you know, he coming around, getting the reverse, and they had lead blockers on the sideline. Those are the things that you have to do.
They outnumbered them.
Yeah.
They outnumbered them. And you can, like I said, you can blame the refs. The refs are doing their job. You can't sit there and complain about it is you. You've been all year, you've been the most penalized team in the NFL.
Let me tell you something, Jim. The ref is not in practice. They're not in practice. You get your butt out there and you play this game the way it's supposed to play. Don't even look at the refs. I'm
gonna tell you something. I coached for Bill when I was at the Cowboys. And every Monday when we had breakdowns of the team we're going to play this week, Bill would give all the players a little short analysis on what the refs did the following week or what they norm. This ref calls a lot of holding calls. This ref might call a pass interference call.
Right.
And that's what somebody in the Cowboys, they talk about all these analytics. You got to know what the kind of refs you're playing against, because every referee and their staffs are different and what they emphasize.
Absolutely.
And Bill was great at that. And I thought that's why we had the opportunity to get to a playoff, and we didn't win. We went to Cal with Quincy Carter. Quincy Carter was the quarterback. And
that's what I'm saying. When you reach the playoffs, it's a whole nother game.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. And then Mike McCarthy said today that he thought that the team came out of the locker room nervous. Nervous? You ought to be like licking your tops.
Yeah.
And walking out there with your fist ball up, say, hey, let's go.
Yeah. But here was also an interesting thing that McCartney said, that he thought they were mentally sharp. If you're making that many mistakes, let's be honest. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. You can't be mentally sharp and make 14 penalties. How can you can't serve two masters. You're either not ready, like you said, but he said, well, they were okay mentally. They knew what to do. But obviously, either they're not good physically, then there's something wrong. And you have to correct that. And that's your job as a coach. That's your responsibility. They got very good coaches on that staff, but they got to figure out, hey, this is what we got to do. There are some positives. Dak Prescott will have the whole off season to prepare herself for next year. But how many players are going to do that? Prepare themselves to become better.
Yeah, and one thing they're going to have to do is they're going to have to reload with coaches, because they've been losing some of their coaches.
They possibly could. I don't know. And we'll talk about that a little later, because we'll talk about that, because some of them coaches, they might want to lose.
Well,
Yeah.
That's one thing about this game now. It's interchangeable. I mean, things are changing.
Yeah. So what else happened was at the end of the game, the fans were throwing trash at the referees. To me, that's unacceptable. And Dak Prescott at the beginning said that was good. Then he obviously thought about all his.
He said he came back and apologized.
Yeah, his marketing and apologized. But still, wrong is wrong. Why are you always pointing fingers at the referee? The referees are doing their job. That's what they get paid for. You need to do your job. That's what you get paid for. Don't put yourself in that position that they can make those calls.
Well, that's one of the things about sign of maturity and saying the right thing when you're supposed to say the right thing. And so he apologized, and
he said it was the heat of the moment.
But you can't let these words slip out, and say too many things, because that's why you got to be a professional at what you're doing, because they're looking at you all the time. I mean,
and especially in this era, in social media era, you're gonna get looked at every single time. Anytime you walk out the door, there's somebody with a camera.
Yep, absolutely.
Somebody with a video. So you have to realize that.
Yeah.
So he did apologize, but I don't think, and like you said, a lot of things happen in the heat of the moment. You got to take a deep breath and be careful what you say. So
drink some water.
But let's move on to the next game. We talked enough about Cowboys.
What's the next game?
The next game was the Chiefs 42 and Pittsburgh Steelers 21. Big Ben, 29 of 44, 215, 2 touchdowns. Najee Harris had 12 carries. There's a theme going on here. There's a big theme.
He had his first fumble all year.
Yeah, but they're also a big theme. If you notice, the teams that have struggled in these playoffs, they can't run the ball.
They have less than 50 yards.
Yep.
They start running back have less than 30 or 40 yards.
Exactly, and that's the thing, because you look at some of the things that happen, and you're right. And then you look at on the other side, Mahomes had 30 of 39, 404 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. Yeah. That was for the touchdown. But T.J. Watt and Jerry McKinney had 2 carries for 61 yards. And Big Ben, this is it for Big Ben. He's tired. I mean, you got to give him credit. He's never had a losing record. He won 1 Super Bowl. He won 1 Super Bowl.
I thought he won 2.
He won 2?
I think he won the first one early on.
He won 1 in Tomlin's first year.
Yeah.
I thought that one. I didn't know, but do you think he's a Hall of Famer?
Oh, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer.
He's never had a losing season, correct?
Yeah, never had a losing season. I mean, they was 9-7-1 this year. But yeah.
I don't have an argument. I'm just curious what you thought about that. I thought he did a tremendous job.
I think he's in the top 3 in passing yards in the playoffs as well. Yeah. So he got some stats that that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's won 2 Super Bowls. So.
Yeah, 2 Super Bowls, yes.
So he's a guy that has the possibility of being a Hall of Famer in 5 years? You got to wait 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years. Yeah, he'll be a first-time ballot probably.
Yeah, because I don't have a problem with it. I'm just,
they ain't had no Steelers go to the make it in a while. So they got to have different players from different teams. You got to look at that too now.
Yeah, they got some turnover there too. I was reading today, Keith Butler, who's their defensive coordinator, is retiring.
Yes, right.
Rudolph is saying that he wants to be the guy, the quarterback, but I'm sure they're going to look at other quarterbacks in the draft.
They don't have a whole lot of good quarterbacks in this draft, but they gonna be some teams maybe do some trading.
Yeah, but I don't think they're the team that trades. I think they like.
Yeah, they like the in-house.
They like the build from their culture, which has been good because that's why they've been competitive, as they say, within what they do and what they do best. But there's going to be some transition, obviously, this year. So
the Steelers are always interesting. You know, they're just a peculiar team. You know, you don't know what they're gonna do because they always tough though. They hard to beat. That's one thing you can tell you about the Steelers. You better play a good game.
Yeah. Oh, no question. And it's always been like that.
Yeah.
The culture is incredible. But here's the thing that's going to bothers me about how the NFL works. I think Eric Bieniemy, regardless, is something like 8-1 in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yep.
And the coordinator that's getting all the accolades and all the interviews is the coordinator for the Cowboys. And he's won one playoff game as a coordinator, if that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting to me. How
you talking about more? Are you talking about more?
Yeah, more. So I'm not saying, but why is he so?
I think
sought after.
I think Dallas had the number one offense for scoring this year. They put up the numbers, and I think that was very impressive. I mean, they weren't predictable. He had a great scheme of things this year. So
yeah, but here's the thing, Kellen Moore, and I understand what you're saying, but you take out, and I'm not saying the NFC East had issues. Washington, obviously, they scored quite a bit against Washington. The Giants, we know that they had issues this year, and that's not a negative. That's just the reality of it. And the Eagles in the last game
against their second team, team.
So they scored points against the NFC East, but when they went out of conference, they other than Tampa Bay, they struggled.
Yeah, they had some problem. Yeah,
that was a serious issue. Now this guy is supposed to be the all-in and everything, but when you go out of conference, you can't score these kind of points. I mean, you can do it against the Atlanta Falcons of the world, but when you get into Kansas City or some of those teams, Denver, Oakland, now you struggle. And then even Arizona and last week against San Francisco.
Right.
That's what then when you're playing the better teams, that's when you got to show up. And that's just my opinion.
You're right. You if anybody know, you're right, because that's but his name is popping up. I mean,
he's doing a lot of interviews where Bieniemy hasn't got an interview yet, and I've heard and I know some things, but he said he doesn't interview very well.
Yeah. Byron Leftwich is his name is on a couple of jobs too.
Yes.
So,
yes,
but it's interesting how certain teams, owners, or whatever decision makers are looking for something unique in these coaches, I guess. And a lot of these teams are going with the younger. Seem like they're going with the younger coaches. They get attracted to some of these younger guys.
Very true. And then we'll get back to that in a minute. But let's talk about the Rams.
Rams.
And the Cardinals. The Rams 34 and the Cardinals 11. Kyler Murray, 19 of 34, 137 yards, 2 interceptions. Chase Edwards, 8 carries. Here's what you were talking about, 28 yards. While Stafford was 13 of 34, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sony Mitchell, again, what you said, had 13 carries for 58 yards. They're all over 50 yards.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray, did you realize that he's 1-8 against the Rams? He's only beaten one time. I think, and I know you're going to disagree, he is afraid of Aaron Donald.
I think so
saw
too.
in that same game that we watched, if Donald got close to him, he fell down. He didn't even escape.
He is scared of, I'm going with you on this one because that's what the last game showed me. You was absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's something about the Rams because they play them, twice every year?
Yeah.
Something about the Rams, they just he know that he gonna get pressure.
Yeah.
And his present, I ain't never seen him do this. He was in the end zone and just threw the ball up.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That's unlike him. That's unlike him.
Here's the thing that's going to really knock you out. Did you realize in the 100-year history of the Cardinals, there is no coach that's ever coached at the Cardinals in St. Louis or Arizona for more than 6 years in 100 years?
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I looked at it, and that was an incredible stat. So Cliff Kingsbury, we talked about it before the show. Cliff Kingsbury has a winning record in the first 8 games, and he did that in college. But in the last 8 games, and now 9, he has a losing record. It is some of the things they do, people catch up with it as the season progresses. And that's the thing you have. And they did have injuries.
Yeah, they did. They
did have injuries. They lost Hopkins. And
Hopkins, DeAndre.
Connor wasn't healthy, and Edmonds wasn't as healthy. And J.J. Watts in there. But I think J.J. Watts is on the downside of his career.
Yeah.
But I just think Kyler Murray has got to look in the mirror and just like Dak, you got to say, what can I do better? Because the worst play that I saw watching that game was the one where he was there. He should have took the safety.
Yeah.
He tries to throw it out, and he throws the interception for a touchdown.
Yeah, just think about this. You rather get a safety or you throw an interception for a touchdown. 7-2.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And So he and I've been watching this kid since the 9th grade in the state of Texas play. Never have I seen him play like that. So he was afraid of the defense, like you said. I guess.
And Von Miller is starting to heat up. That's scary too.
Von came in and made some impact.
Yeah,
and that's what I liked about the Rams. They trying to position themselves to go to the Super Bowl right now.
Yeah.
Not no other time, but right now.
Yeah.
That's why I think Tampa gonna be it gonna be a burn.
And they beat Tampa this year.
Yeah.
So there's no question about that. They beat them, and Tampa's not at full strength offensively. And they got one of the best corners in it, Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
They're going to roll the coverage away from them.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a heck of a game. That might be the game, one of those games where either one of them could go to the Super Bowl.
Either one of them. And maybe the winner of that game going to probably win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Is Kyler Murray the quarterback that you thought he was?
Yeah. No, because, he still can run and be elusive out the pocket. I just think his receivers, and he didn't have the same type of receivers right now. I just think that it's all about the personnel and the combination of the personnel.
I see that, but I think some of the things they have to correct, they're going to blame it on their defense, but they have to correct some stuff schematically. They're similar to the Cowboys. Some of their things schematically are not good enough to win championships.
Yeah.
They have talent. And I'm not that – I knew this was going to happen because I watched him the first game where he fell 3 times when Aaron Donald just was breathing on him. He never tried to escape. And that bothers me when the quarterback.
Well, I came out. I was on the Cardinals bandwagon.
Yeah, you were.
I predicted him to do some things.
Yeah.
But with the injuries and the weight thing, he dropped off the last part of the season. It just, you were right. I got to say, I got to take my hat off to you. And the Cardinals was, it just the bottom fell out. It kind of reminded me of what happened to Pittsburgh Steelers last year.
Yeah. That's exactly
11
right.
games, 10 games.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing happened to the Cardinals.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't have that much time left. Let's talk about some of the games next week.
Okay.
The Bengals versus the Titans. Who you got?
The Bengals versus the Titans. I'm going with the Titans.
Going with the Titans?
Yeah.
Whoo. I have to go with the Titans too, but I like the Bengals. I think the Bengals have too many injuries on their defensive line.
Derrick Henry will be back this week.
Yeah, King Henry will be back. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans. But you never know which Titans team is going to show up.
Right.
it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that the Bengals, plus Tennessee and Nashville and Cincinnati are pretty close. So it's not a big, not a long.
I think the Tennessee Titan head coach Mike going to end up being the coach of the year.
Yeah. Vrabel, he's got a chance. Vrabel, excuse me.
Yeah.
49ers versus Packers.
I ain't going against the Packers in Green Bay.
Ooh, yeah. I'll tell you what, it's going to be a good game.
But you know what?
And if you remember,
running back Jones for the Packers going to have over 100 yards.
But here's the thing. If you remember earlier in the season, the 49ers did play the Packers, and they lost the 49ers did on a field goal at the end of the game. So there's a possibility there. And Rodgers has choked in the game. One of the things
that I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be hard for the 49ers to play 3 perfect games in a row. They had to beat the Rams last week. They came here to Dallas and stumped the Cowboys. I don't see them going to Green Bay having a good game.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Okay.
I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, but I don't think
Somebody said Aaron Rodgers going to choke. I don't think so.
Yeah, but he struggled in the playoffs, if you noticed that.
Okay.
I'm saying
I'm going with Green Bay. Green Bay.
I think that Green Bay is going to win, but I think the 49ers are going to make it interesting. They're not going to get blown out. Then you got the Rams versus the Bucks. Here's where we're going to have an argument at, because I'm going with the Rams.
I was going to go with the Rams, but I'm going with the home team. I'm going with the Bucks.
I think that the Rams' offense is healthier at this point, and Cam Akers is making a difference.
I'm going with the Bucks. I'm going with the Bucks because the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are up for head coaching jobs. They got to win this game.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to go with the Rams because I think that their offense at this point is a little bit more explosive than Tampa Bay.
Okay.
Here's a game that is going to be Chiefs against the Bills. I'm going to let you go first.
I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah. I'm going to say.
You're going to take Buffalo.
I got to go with Buffalo. I got to shuffle on the Buffalo. Rough Buff.
Yeah, I agree with that. Max Stafford, he going to choke. The Rams don't want a last game. He only won one playoff game, so
yeah.
No, but for real though, the Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, they're gonna be a good game. They're gonna be an entertaining game. Games. Yeah.
We got a 2-minute warning now, but until we go, let's talk about the Jaguars. Who's your favorite to get the job?
The Jaguars, Byron Leftwich.
I can see that. That's a good one. And I don't.
There's a lot of guys though. Byron. I think Byron Leftwich.
Broncos.
I would say, man, they got Doug Peterson out there.
Yeah.
Romeo, the linebacker for the Patriots, been coaching. He might get the job.
Chicago or the Raiders. Mayo
with the Raiders. Okay.
Yeah. But I think you said you're right. Kellen Moore possibly with the Broncos.
Yeah, because he's from
Vikings.
The Vikings. Oh man, the Vikings. I would like to see Todd Bowles.
I could see it. How about Jim Caldwell?
Jim Caldwell. Yeah. It's gonna be. They said Kevin Moore from the Cowboys might get it.
Yeah, that's it. How about Jim? How about the Bears?
The Bears. I think the Bears should give it to. Well, you got to give it to Brian Flores.
Yeah.
He gonna get a job somewhere. He gonna get a job.
Yeah. How about Jim Harbaugh?
Jim Harbaugh. I don't know if he want to come back to the NFL.
But if he does, the Bears.
Oh yeah, they would love him. He's a there or he's a Miami.
Yeah. How about the Dolphins?
The Dolphins, I just said Jim Harbaugh. If you want to come to the,
I don't think that guy wants to mess up Minnesota because Michigan, because he is a Michigan grad, the owner.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, we didn't get through it all, but
the Giants gonna go with Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I think we'll go with Dan Quinn. But as always, it's great being on the show with you. We'll keep it going. We'll be back next week.
That's right. This division championship. Yeah.
All right.